Rotman School of Business, and we are here for the, it's a Women at Work Symposium, but it is the big essay competition co-sponsored by Rotman and TD.
And it's a 2-year joint initiative supporting the advancement of women, which we are all about, by sharing innovative perspectives about women's careers, family, and legacy aspirations. We're going to be meeting some amazing people today.
Yes, because we're down to 6 finalists, and 1 will be chosen, and that 1 will walk away with $10,000. Amazing. And joining us now is Vanessa Iarocci, Director of Women Investor Strategy at TD Wealth, to talk a little bit about the whole concept of this competition and this very, very special alliance. Welcome, Vanessa.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. We're very excited about today's event. It's been part of a 6-month process since we joined forces with Rotman, and our goal, to make it really simple, is to start an honest, critical conversation about the challenges and opportunities women face in moving forward to achieve their career, family, and legacy aspirations. We found that whether it's unconscious or conscious, women do tend to make deeper trade-offs between those 3 things as compared to men.
So when you launched the competition, we announced it because TD is one of our great partners on What She Said, but you told me on the phone one day that you had been overwhelmed by the number of people that submitted to this contest.
Absolutely. We had 359 women write deeply moving essays as a result of our call for essays. And just to put that in perspective, it was a tight timeline. The women had 2 months to write an essay. There were lots of requirements with respect to having to answer a number of questions. So this wasn't an easy task. This wasn't about sending us a few bullet points. This was asking a woman to do a critical retrospective on her life. And within 2 months, we received 359 essays from across Canada. And let me tell you, I read every one, and every single one was remarkable.
Vanessa, let's give our listeners an idea of who are these women who entered this competition. Are they students? Are they people talking after a 20-year career? What are the sort of, what does the contestant look like?
Great question, and this is a little controversial, and we had to really think through the criteria, because what we wanted to achieve was an honest conversation about what was going on. And to do that, we had to narrow the pool of women that could contribute, and we narrowed it to women that had at least 10 years of experience, that did live or at one point lived in Canada, and also had a university education. And there are all sorts of reasons why we did decide on those criteria, but we felt that by drawing a line, we could garner some insights for both the University of Toronto and TD that would allow us to use the insights to make a difference.
So in what way are you hoping to make a difference? I mean, we're talking about a business school, teaching courses, preparing women for a corporate life, and we're talking a corporate entity, which is TD. How do you think that is going to change things? How can you change things, or what's the vision?
Well, it's really interesting because we didn't quite know when we started. We were making a bit of a bet that if we asked the questions, we'd get insights that we could use as fodder for thought on what we could do differently. And having read through the essays, I can say for TD at least, and likely for Rotman, there were a lot of ideas that came through that might not have been front of mind. We just had a conversation upstairs with a semi-finalist about maybe the need to address the biological clock for undergraduate women. That at some point in their life, they're going to realize you don't have 50 years to find a partner and have a child, and that happens at the same time you're building your career. So you do need to be mindful of that and be proactive if you do want a family, and in making family a priority. And that's a really tough, controversial topic. But I noticed some of the professors from Rotman in the room really giving that some thought, thinking, no, this isn't something we really talk about to female students. And that's one example. Another example that just came up again in talking through with the semifinalists is when you go on maternity leave, you're not guaranteed your exact same job when you come back. You're guaranteed a comparable job. And being honest about that and what that can mean is very important to help women onboard back into their career and also make decisions about the length and kind of maternity leave that they truly want, given their aspirations.
Well, those are actually very important topics that I think to date have largely gone unspoken while they're thought about a whole lot, especially amongst their own colleagues who are women. These are things we discussed, but maybe didn't bring to the forefront because you don't want to, especially with the maternity leave question, you don't want to put any extra pressure on what's going to happen when you come back. So this must have been quite an interesting opportunity for the participants to actually give heard voice to those issues.
Absolutely, and we asked each participant to tell us a little about what they gained from the process. And almost unanimously, each participant said, I took a hard look at my situation and it forced me to have a conversation with other women about some of these issues. So one of the semi-finalists talked about how it really started a great conversation with her son-in-law about some of these topics. Another one said it spurred some conversation at work. And we really have to start having these honest conversations about these issues. These aren't easy issues to solve.
And it's not just in the corporate world. I mean, in the media world, I know we all consider that there really is no great time to have a baby.
Absolutely.
In your career. And I think, Christine, how long, you had twins, and how much time did you take off?
Well, I took 4 weeks off.
Oh my goodness.
Simply because I was one of the first at that station who had been pregnant, and they were looking at me saying, well, let's just see how this is going to go. And when I came back, I felt that I was having to set a precedent. When I came back, one of the owners said, well, this is great. This is like vacation. Our viewers can handle this.
Right.
There's no problem with having women on the air. So I was at a different time, right? But there was a feeling at that point that if you were out of sight for a week, that ratings would drop, their advertisers would disappear, and therefore they would rather hire a man.
Well, plus there was also the clickety-click-click of high heels coming down the hallway of
Yes.
somebody after your job, and they may always be better than you. So, I think women, in that career, you are, Christine's right, you're very, very front and center. But then by the time Sharon and I moved up, I think mat leave was up to 9 months or a year, wasn't it, Sharon?
Mine, I believe, was 6 months for one and I think 9 for the next.
6 for one, 9 for the other. I took 3 months. Wow. I took 3 months, but it was 6 weeks mat leave and 6 weeks holiday.
Yeah,
that I had built
and
up.
we have to talk about those experiences. We can learn a lot from what you went through. One of our semi-finalists was the very first policewoman to take a year off to spend some time with her child and then return back to the police force. And something she talked about was the fact that she was given that opportunity was also a little bit of pressure because she felt like she had to make it work for all the other women around her, which I thought was a very interesting circumstance because in a lot of ways, that situation influenced her behavior and influenced the choice she made.
I'm also thinking, most of the women that I've talked to through my working life and also younger women have talked about the fact that their whole life, once they start working, is or having children, is full of guilt. It's 24 hours a day guilt. They feel guilty about not doing enough at work. They feel guilty about not doing enough for their kids. They're constantly balancing the guilt. And I suppose that young women who might be enrolled at Rotman, let's say, who haven't started their full-time careers yet, don't realize that. And so if the educational institutions and the corporate world are taking stock of that, and they realize that everybody can work together to make life a little easier.
Absolutely, and let's be honest that's how women are feeling. And I know TD does a terrific job of this. I didn't grow up at TD. I joined TD about 2 years ago, and I found the conversation about guilt was very productive at TD. It's about flip that and think about all the joys and benefits of having a career and all the advantages that having a career offer you as a woman. Financial security, the opportunity to learn more and pass that knowledge on to your children. There are so many benefits, but we are so focused on talking about the challenges and the guilt, that often we can forget the upside.
So was there anything that really stood out for you in one of the essays?
That's such a hard question, because really this is going to be such a tough job. Every single essay spoke to me, and I'd say challenged me in a lot of ways. Something that stuck out at me that I wasn't expecting to see is that many women really turned to entrepreneurship because traditional corporate Canada wasn't working for them. And entrepreneurship was a way to do work that they loved, that made an impact, but also provided them with financial security. And I thought that was a really interesting trend that I wasn't expecting.
So, tell us a little bit about who you picked or who you teamed up with Rotman to select the judges, and tell us about the judges.
Oh, great question. So our judging panel is quite diverse. So Professor Walid Hijazi is a professor here at the Rotman School. He's done quite a lot of thought leadership in this area. He is on our judging panel. TD's chair of our Women in Leadership program, which is our internal program to mentor TD women to be leaders of tomorrow. Karen Shira, she is one of our judges today. Myself, and I think you've done a great job introducing me already. And Richard Nesbitt, who of the Nesbitt Burns, so clearly a very prominent gentleman in the financial services industry, now professor at U of T. He really brings to bear lots of experiences in an industry that traditionally did have a lot of challenges, recruiting and developing women. And lastly, Kim Parlee, who is the
Who's
anchor
Kim
of
Parlee?
Money Talk, and I can say exceptionally passionate about this issue.
So the judging's going on right now.
It is, yeah. I was just running down from a very heated debate
Oh no!
about the semifinalists. I don't know if we're ever going to emerge from that room with a decision.
So there's 6 semifinalists
There are.
all together. There were
Yes.
originally going to be 5. What
Right.
happened? You had to add one? They were
We're
so
not
good?
very good at making decisions. That's why I'm not so optimistic we're going to have a conclusion. We just couldn't land on 5, so we broke our own rules and we added a 6th.
Well, if you decide to add a 7th, we'll make time and room for it, right, Kate?
Right, and then if the actual winner is, should you reach consensus, we don't have a hung jury, is going to be announced during the luncheon
Correct.
today.
It's at the end of the luncheon. We're going to keep you in suspense. There's lots of great stuff going on during the luncheon, and at the end, we will have a decision to share, hopefully.
Yeah, we have to think.
Click the channel subscribe button for full-length interviews and more from What She Said here on YouTube.